Hello and welcome to Bourbon Rocks. Tonight we're going to do a Colonel E.H. Taylor 4-grain from Buffalo Trace. Now E.H. Taylor is a line of bourbons from Buffalo Trace, which is most of the time bottled in bond, with the exception of the barrel proof, which obviously can't be bottled in bond because it's barrel proof. But most all of their expressions are. Now, this is a fairly rare expression that they've come out with a few times. It's interesting because it's a 4-grain bourbon. So E.H. Taylor generally has the number one mash bill from Buffalo Trace, which is their low rye mash bill. Now, Buffalo Trace claims they make all of their products out of 5 mash bills. Now, that's not entirely true. They have the wheated mash bill, which is the Pappies and the Wellers. They have the 2 rye mash bills, the mash bill number 1, which is the low rye mash bill, which are your Taylors, your Stags, your Buffalo Trace, your Eagle Rare. And then you have the mash bill number 2, which they call the high rye, which that's kind of a misnomer in my opinion. It's more of a medium rye. It's in the 20s. It's not a super high rye like a Four Roses or so. But it's a medium rye, so that's mash bill number 2, and that's the Blantons and the Elmer T. Lees, etc. And then they have the rye mash bill, which is your Sazeracs and your Pappy rye, if you will. And then they have that one sort of rare rye mash bill, which is the E.H. Taylor rye, which is 95% rye. But then there's a few experimental things, and this is one of those. This is the 4-grain, so this has basically corn. Obviously, it's a bourbon, so it has to be 51% corn. But it's got both wheat and rye as its flavoring grains, and then the malted barley. So, we're interesting mash bill. It doesn't. As far as I know, it's the only 4-grain product that Buffalo Trace makes, unless there's another experimental one that I'm not aware of. I like 4 grains. I do find Blenbow as being one of my favorite everyday drinkers. But we're going to see how this goes. Being that it's bottled in bond, that means certain things. If you haven't looked that up yet, here's what bottled in bond means. It means, number 1, that it comes from a single distillery in a single distillation season. It has to be aged in a federally bonded warehouse under U.S. government supervision. And it has to be for at least 4 years. Okay, it can be longer than that. This product actually, Buffalo Trace says, is 12 years, but it has to be at least 4 years to be a bottle in bond. And then it has to be bottled at 100 proof. So that was America's first Consumer Protection Act back in 1897. The Bottle and Bond Act did guarantee that these bourbons were unadulterated, because the government was sort of looking at them and see. And maybe in those days we used to trust the government. Today I'm not so sure. But that's a different story. But anyway, so this is the bottle and bond 4-grain E.H. Taylor, which you're going to try now. That's interesting. I always typically smell the cork. I don't make a whole lot of comments. This one I think is interesting because this cork actually has sort of a umami flavor. You know, it's like a meaty flavor. It makes me think that this would actually go well with a steak or, you know, some pork barbecue or country ham or so. So let's see. All right, so we look at the color again in our Glencairn glass, as we always do on Bourbon Rocks. This is a little more to the orange side. It's like a sort of a copper penny, which is appropriate because E.H. Taylor did start the Old Fire Copper Distillery, which is what Buffalo Trace used to be known as. So it's got kind of that copper penny sort of color. The body is medium to full, not quite as full as some of the BTAC bourbons, but you got some legs that are running pretty long down the glass and so forth. All right, nosing. Keep that mouth open again. Bring those aromas in. All right, now here we've got a lot of those Halloween party flavors. It's like caramel corn and candied apple, or actually even more peach than apple. Imagine you did a caramel peach or candied peach, even more than apple. But that's definitely like a warm muffin. There's that pumpkin pie spice. This really is giving me a Halloween feel. Good thing to serve at a Halloween party if you want to throw a lot of money into your Halloween party. Yeah, that's good. There's a little bit of the cloviness from the. So you got the wheat and you got the rye. So the wheat is giving you more of that soft sweetness, more of that pie-like, and some of the candiness of the corn. Well, the corn's giving you the sweetness, but the wheat's giving you that kind of soft pie-likeness. But the rye's giving you that sort of spiciness. So it's like a pumpkin pie spice. Again, all kind of fitting into that Halloween sort of vibe that I'm getting out of this bourbon. All right, let's taste it and see what we get. This is 100 proof. It's, not that strong. It's not that hot, but there's a little kind of fire right on the tip of your tongue. That's saying, again, you've got that little bit of the spice from the rye. That's like that baking spice that your pumpkin pie spice. Still getting that same kind of candied fruit, like a caramel. Again, more peach than apple. I can imagine a caramel peach if you could put that in your mind. Again, that sort of muffiny stuff. It's candy corn. I used to take the candy corns, just throw them and catch them in my mouth and so that was my Halloween party gag. This is. It's really good. It's really rich. There's a lot of good flavors going here. I would say it's complex, but I wouldn't say that it lasts very long. The finish is well, I wouldn't call it short. It's medium, but it's a lot shorter than expected. I kind of expected to keep those flavors in my mouth a little bit longer, but it kind of fades. The sweetness kind of fades off. A little bit of that pumpkin pie spice still kind of hangs in the mouth, but the fruitiness, the peachiness, is gone. A lot of vanilla. I mean, all new bourbons have a vanilla flavor. You say vanilla and caramel with any bourbon, and you're going to be right. But just how much vanilla, how much caramel? This is a lot of vanilla, a whole lot of vanilla. And then that kind of lingers at the very end. It's just a little bit of vanilla spice at the very end. But I'm really a bit shocked that it doesn't last as long as I thought. It tasted really good. It knows very well. It tasted very good, but it finished a little bit short, and that's the only disappointing thing about it. Let's try again. It reminds me of a Halloween party. I want to dress up in costume, but it doesn't last. It's like the day after Halloween, you're stuck with all this candy. And, of course you eat it. You still drink this bourbon. Still got those nice flavors. But it just doesn't last that long. Let's see what water does, okay? Normally I find with water in bourbon that I can bring out a little bit more fruitiness. That tends to be my personal experience. This is only 100 proof bourbon, so we'll see what it really does. Kind of the same. I'm not getting. There's a little bit more pie-ness, a little more of the pie crust. I love the bottom of a pumpkin pie, where the crust is kind of really gooey, that sort of gooey pumpkin pie crust. And maybe that little whipped cream. This is definitely Halloween. It's a fall drink. And the water actually extends the finish a little bit more with this one. That's not been typically my experience, but I think with this bourbon, it brings it out a little longer. It brings some of those clove notes a little bit longer out. The sweetness kind of fades away, and it leaves you with a little bit more of that, it's a little more of that clove. My aunt used to have this orange that had these little cloves studded in it that she kept in a little jar up on the mantle. And we would always go over to her house, around the holidays. And I just remember that cloved orange. And I'm getting that vibe here with this. So it's like, this is a Halloween, Thanksgiving type drink it, in the early holidays. Go to the Pappy 20 at Christmas. You watch the other videos. Pappy 20 is Christmas in a glass. This, I would say, Halloween in a glass. Very good. I'm giving it an ace, again, because it's a very complex bourbon. It's got a lot of flavors. The only drawback is it just does not finish long. It's a little short, but, it's still worthy. Price-wise, this is another high price. This is one of the specialty bourbons from Taylor, so you're going to pay more if you find it on the internet. It's going to price up there with the Buffalo Trace Antique Collection, even though it's not actually a member of that. But it's good, just a little short on the finish, but still a whole lot of complex flavors. Very much that fall Halloween flavor. So check us out on bourbonrocks.com. This is the E.H. Taylor 4-grain special release from Buffalo Trace. Thanks. See you next time.